fantasizing about getting an Oscar, and I would imagine myself on stage, getting an Oscar and looking at the crowd and being very like, thank you. I would like to thank the Academy. And I would make these speeches. She's got the power, power, she's got the power. So I keep hearing this thing over and over again from people teaching law of attraction that really annoys me because it's wrong. It's just wrong. And what they're teaching is, so it's the subject of, visualization versus daydreaming. And what they're saying is that visualization is better than daydreaming because, according to them, it means that you are goal-oriented and more intentional about what you are creating. Okay, let's talk about this because this is important for you to understand law of attraction. And to do that, we have to go back to the beginning. Very briefly, law of attraction, what is it? Well, law of attraction just means that it's a law, it's a basic law in the universe that says what you are emitting, the vibration that you're emitting, you're attracting to yourself. And so how do we humans know what vibration we're emitting? I mean, we don't have some scientific device that we can carry with us that is going to tell us. But the way that we know is through our emotions. Emotions are the indicators of our vibration. And so if you want to know what you're attracting to you, all you have to do is think about your emotions. What am I feeling right now? And you know that in every moment, literally every moment, what you are feeling, right, which is the indicator, that's what you're vibrating. And based on that, you will be attracting more situations like that, people like that, things, circumstances will come into your life, and a whole reality will be built around you that will be, they will have that same core emotion to it. Or at least you'll feel that way about it, right? Maybe somebody else wouldn't, but you do. Here's the thing. When it comes to the subject of visualization and daydreaming, ultimately, it really doesn't matter what you call it, fantasizing. It really doesn't matter. All that matters is how you are vibrating. And so if you go into a daydream, a beautiful daydream, you can call it daydreaming, right? This beautiful daydream where, let's say I'm lying on my bed, I'm not being intentional about anything, I'm just daydreaming about some beautiful things that have happened to me, some wonderful things that I would like to happen, fantasizing about, let's say, becoming a famous author, right? I can daydream about that. Well, if I feel wonderful in that daydream, if it fills me with happiness, that's what the universe is going to give me back. Now, it may not give it back to me in the exact detail, which does not matter. What matters is the feeling. What matters is that you get the feeling back, and that's how law of attraction works. With visualization, it's the exact same thing. The only difference is, frankly, you can actually screw it up. You can actually screw up your vibration. And that's because I find that when people get into visualization or talk about visualization, this idea of being intentional actually backfires. And the reason why it backfires is because people get so forceful with it. Instead of being kind of soft and kind of having those loving, wonderful feelings that you do in a daydream, they get really, really forceful with this kind of like, I gotta visualize 15 minutes a day, and I gotta think about this goal and this particular goal. A lot of times the goal doesn't even excite them anymore. And that's not, and I mean, what law of attraction is going to be bringing you back are, frankly, a lot of feelings of stress and aggression and forcefulness, right? And all of those type of I gotta do this, I gotta do, I gotta be productive, I gotta be goal oriented. Relax, guys, relax. All you want, ultimately, please remember, please, that all you want to do is be happy, ultimately. And I know I sound like some kind of hippie right now, but it's about being happy. It's about those happy, joyful, excited feelings, bringing them into our life, right? And circumstances that are going to give us more of that feeling. Does it really matter ultimately how it happens, what the circumstances are, exactly the details of them? No, it doesn't. A lot of times we think that we have to, in order to feel good, that we have to manifest specific things. And what the universe often shows us is that you don't need those specific things. There are so many other ways that, so many other things that you can have in your life that will give you those exact same feelings, and a lot of times it's even better. So with daydreaming or fantasizing, I love the word fantasy. I'm writing a book called The Fantasy Character Method, and you better read it when it comes out. So I love the word fantasy. I love, fantasizing, and I probably use that word even more than daydream, but I love the word daydream, and I love daydreaming. And I think that this is something that, a lot of attraction teachers especially, and by the way, not the best of the best. For example, my favorite teacher, Abraham Hicks, who is a non-physical... that was crazy. My camera fell down. So my favorite spiritual teacher, my favorite law of attraction teacher is Abraham Hicks. Abraham is actually and I know many of you have heard of Abraham because they are absolutely the number one law of attraction teacher, and all the other law of attraction teachers, no matter how famous they may be or how many likes they get on YouTube, I promise you, most of them get their stuff from Abraham. That's the best of the best. So Abraham is a non-physical consciousness channeled by a woman called Esther Hicks. And Abraham talks about this subject, has talked about the subject of daydreaming. If you daydream it, it's coming. They use that word. I've heard them talk about the difference between daydreaming and visualization, and the fact that there really isn't any, and it's really all about the feelings that you're in, right? In that period of time, or any period of time, however you want to call it. And now there are a lot of law of attraction teachers, especially YouTubers, these kind of younger generation YouTubers. Not that there's anything wrong with being younger generation. Sometimes that's a great thing. But I find that a lot of them keep repeating. It's almost like they found somebody's YouTube video who talks about this subject and gives incorrect information, and now they're all repeating the same stuff. It's like, ooh, guys, visualization is so much better. And part of the reason why they do it is because they want you to believe that they have something cool and new. It's like, oh, you want to learn about this thing called visualization. That's where it's at. That's where you will get results. And that old thing that you used to do as a child is not very good. But guys, I promise you, daydreaming most of the times is even better. That thing that you did as a child or as a teenager, not even knowing about law of attraction, that is where it's at. I promise you, that's where it's at, because you're just innocently, lightly thinking about stuff, fantasizing about stuff that makes you feel so good. And law of attraction, that's what the law of attraction is responding to. Law of attraction is not responding to somebody who's like, ooh, now I'm gonna visualize. I mean, if their visualization is a really happy one, of course, law of attraction is going to respond to that. What I mean is that calling it visualization, does not make it more sacred, does not make it more productive. It just doesn't. So daydream. Daydream. That's what it's all about. One example I want to give you from when I was a child and a teenager, way before I knew about law of attraction, is I used to watch Oscars with my parents, and afterwards, in the privacy of my own room, I would be fantasizing about getting an Oscar, and I would imagine myself on stage, getting an Oscar, and looking at the crowd and being very like, thank you, I would like to thank the Academy. And I would make these speeches, I would make these beautiful speeches in my mind that were inspiring and heartfelt. And what I ended up manifesting was not one, but two instances where I had to give a speech in front of the entire school. And it was amazing, but it was very strange because I was not somebody who was working towards, at that time, I was not working towards being on stage or speaking in front of the whole stage, and yet somehow these things just ended up kind of falling into my lap, and I ended up doing it. Especially the strange one, even more so, was when I was 12 years old, and I was picked out of only 4 kids. I was one of the kids picked to do to make a speech about Remembrance Day, which we celebrate in Canada, and which is where I lived back then. But the strange thing about it is that in the previous year, when I was 11 years old, I came to Canada and had to learn English. So all these teachers and everybody knew that I wasn't a native speaker, that I didn't speak very well, and yet somehow I ended up having to make a speech in front of the entire school. One of the highlights of my life. Same with high school. Had to do a monologue. I was in a drama class, and I wrote a monologue that my teacher really liked, and she said, you have to perform it. And I said, no, please, anybody else. You know how horrible I am at acting. I'm not good on stage. Just anybody else, like any other actor, or my classmate. And my teacher was like, no, you wrote the monologue and you understand the feelings of it, so you need to go out there and perform it. And I was really, really scared. But guess what? Now it is one of the highlights from, when I think about high school, it's one of the things that I'm most proud of. So, and it's something that not many kids get to do. It's something that is very, very special and dear to my heart. And I absolutely know that the reason why these things manifested without me trying to manifest them is because I was daydreaming so often, so frequently, especially after Oscars. I was imagining myself giving these powerful, amazing speeches that just, and accepting this award and in front of all these people, and then these experiences, these circumstances, the universe arranged these circumstances to come into my life where I was speaking in front of the entire school. So that tells you something about how the universe really doesn't matter. If you know about law of attraction, law of attraction is always working. It's always working. It's the basic law of the universe. It's like gravity. Does somebody need to know about gravity to experience gravity? No. Do you need to study it for years? Do you need to understand the science behind it? No, you don't. And when it comes to law of attraction, sometimes people get really lost with this kind of, idea that you have to be really intentional about it. You don't have to be intentional about it because the universe just cares about your emotions, your vibration, and is giving you back the same vibration that you're emitting. And it really, if you want to call it visualization, and if you want to set a timer and say, hey, I'm going to visualize for 15 minutes a day, if that's something that that makes you happy, something that you want to do, go for it. But I promise you that that's not what the universe cares about. That's not what law of attraction is about. Just be happy. Be as happy as you can. I know it's really hard sometimes. I have trouble with it too. So absolutely, I completely understand. No shaming. But in every moment, you do want to be conscious about what you're thinking about and what you're feeling, what emotions you're emitting. If you don't like how your thoughts feel, change the subject. Think about something else. And it doesn't matter if you're thinking about something that's going to happen in the future, if you're thinking about something that happened in the past, if you're fantasizing, it doesn't matter. All that matters is the emotion, right? The vibration that you're emitting. I know I keep saying that. I know I'm repeating myself. Something I want to address, what I saw in the comments, some people writing in the videos, below the videos where, people talk about how visualization is so much better. What I noticed is sometimes when people talk about daydreaming, for example, right, the example that sometimes people give is like they're fantasizing or daydreaming about their crush, and this doesn't produce any results. Here's the deal, guys. Most of the time, if you're being honest with yourself, if you're fantasizing about your crush, and I know I used to do that all the time myself, different crushes, infatuations, the truth is that most of my daydreams were actually not happy daydreams. They were not daydreams where we were lovingly, spending time and holding hands and I wasn't actually daydreaming. What I was just thinking about them, obsessing over them, and usually in a negative way. Usually in a like, oh, but I can never get that guy, or he's not into me, he's into somebody else, or he doesn't seem interested in me. That's what I was thinking about. I was not truly daydreaming. I was not daydreaming in that kind of innocent, loving, imagining, using my imagination to produce wonderful feelings, which is kind of, when I'm talking about daydreaming here, I'm talking about the positive daydream, the loving daydream. I'm not talking about, negatively obsessing over somebody. That's not really daydreaming, I mean, again, this is why words are difficult, because 10 different people can use the same language, the same word, and mean completely different things. So we all have to be on the same page, right? Again, going to the basics, pay attention to your emotions. That's what matters. The universe doesn't care what you call it, daydreaming, visualizing, whatever. The universe doesn't care how goal-oriented you are. It just doesn't, because the universe isn't goal-oriented. The universe is this kind of timeless place where there's forever. So it's very leisurely, actually. The universe is very leisurely. When you look at the animals, other non-human animals, they are so leisurely in the way they live their lives. And if they're allowed to be on their own without humans in the wild, most of the times they're really happy. And, they're not sitting there and visualizing and being like, I gotta visualize making this kind of money and blah, blah, blah. They're not. Don't force it. Call it visualizing if you want to, if it makes you happy, but do not force anything. Be lighthearted about it. And this is why daydreaming and calling it daydreaming is probably better, actually, for manifestation. That's what I believe. It's better because you're going to be more soft about it. You're going to be more lighthearted about it. Okay? I also wanted to tell you guys that I wrote a little ebook. It's about 15 pages long, so it's a very short read. And it's called How to Manifest Anything That You Want. And it's a little clarifying guide for law of attraction. It's for really anybody who wants to kind of refresh their memory or learn about law of attraction again. But it's clarifying. It's clarifying guide to, you know, what law of attraction is and how to use it to your benefit. And it's really very, you know, knowing the basics and understanding that it's really all about emotions, and that you can be easy about it. So I am going to include a link below, and I hope that you will read it. And by the way, there's no signups whatsoever. You don't need to, you know, put in your name or email. The link will take you directly to the ebook, and all I ask is that if you enjoy it after you read it, that you share it with your friends. Share it in your social media as a link. Send it as a PDF file to, you know, your friends. In emails, just share it with people. I think it will help you. I think it will help a lot of people. So I will see you in the next video. Bye, ladies, and men who worship ladies. Bye.